Good evening, my friends, or good morning if it's morning there. I'm going to read chapter 5 of my story Derry Wars, and this chapter is called Peace Bridge. You remember that the three main characters, Patrick, Wesley and Sheila, are still in the restaurant. Wesley still has the gun, but things seem to be getting calmer. Let's see what happens. For a while, as the three of them sat there in the early evening, nobody was speaking. But in the end it was Patrick O'Hara who spoke up. "What I would not give for a glass of Guinness right now." "So you are a drinker, Pat?" It was the first time that Wesley had used the Derry man's first name, and his tone was not as harsh as before. "Not so much, but this is one different kind of day and I could drink one right enough. Do you not drink?" "Well, I'm not supposed to. Temperance, Orange Lodge and all that. But I take the odd one, and Guinness is one of the few good things coming out of Dublin." He said it in a jokey tone of voice rather than a condemnatory one. "I should have done this in a bar." Both men laughed. But Sheila had an idea for me. "Well, man, I might be able to go and get you one." They looked at her quizzically and she frowned at them. "We have a few problems to sort out though first." She stared into the face of the man with the gun, which was now sitting on his lap. "Wesley, I was thinking if you were going to shoot Patrick, you would have done it by now. Am I right?" Patrick shuffled awkwardly. "I did intend to, Sheila, I really did, but you're right. It doesn't seem the best solution to anything now." He nodded and looked relieved more than defeated. "I think if we all had one more cup of tea, I'd be ready to tell them that I'll give myself up." "That's going to be awkward though." Sheila pointed to the bag on the table. "Bringing a bomb in here is going to lead to a serious court case." "Bringing a hoax bomb will not be so harshly treated." Patrick surprised them both. "How did you know?" Wesley was curious and puzzled. "I didn't know, Wesley, but I suspected. I have to admit that I know a fair bit about bombs, and I don't think you do. Also, it just didn't look like one. Leastways, it's hard for them to throw so much at you for that." "Aye, right enough, but the gun is real enough." Wesley was contemplating a long jail sentence now. "They'll skin me alive for that." "So we have to make it a hoax. Have you two guns?" Sheila was thinking in overdrive. "No, I was just scaring people, but there are live rounds in this one." "Okay, so we get rid of it." Sheila was confident she could ease everything down a few notches now. "It's not so easy to do that with half the PSNI sitting at the door." Patrick thought out loud about the number of policemen outside. It's easy if they think that you still have the gun." Sheila was confusing them both, but she laughed. "Hold on, I'll get us more tea." After a few minutes she returned with more tea and a huge smile. The two men looked at her expectantly and impatiently. "Okay, so Patrick, have you Jerry O'Loughlin's phone number?" "I do, surely." "Right, Wesley, you use the phone to get him. You tell him I'm going out on an errand for you and nobody is to interfere with me at all. I'm to get free passage in and out, and if I'm not back in 45 minutes, you tell Jerry to tell the cops you're going to shoot Patrick. And if they rush the building, you blow it up. What do they know? In the meantime, I go out with the gun, get rid of it, and then come back with some Guinness." She sat with the look like she'd just won a dancing competition. Patrick looked at Wesley and smiled. "It might just work, you know." "But there are people who saw the gun and know I've won, and they'll testify that I had it." "I've thought of that." Sheila was in command now. "What can you do about that?" Patrick asked, and Sheila just smiled. "You'll see. A woman doesn't have to tell everything, you know. Do you two trust me?" The two men had no hesitation about that. They were sure that she wouldn't betray Wesley or anyone else. She smiled broadly and added, well, don't you two men be fighting while I'm gone. Give me that gun, but make it safe first, please." Sheila watched as Wesley unloaded the gun and held out her hand to take it. and then the bullets in her other hand. She went behind the counter, put these in her handbag, and said, "Now make that phone call, and as soon as we know I have free passage in and out, I'll be off." "But if you get caught with that gun, Sheila, the cops will..." "That's why I needed free passage, Wesley." "What are you going to do with it?" The Sinn Féin man was worried about a gun going loose in Derry. The days for these things were over. "When I return, I'll tell you where it is, Patrick." It was another hour before Sheila was free to go with a promise of no interference. As she went out into the now darkening street, Inspector Sheldon asked, "What's going on in there?" "I think it's best if I answer no questions until all this is over," she said. Noticing her parents behind the barrier, she shouted that she'd see them soon. Not sure whether she was being followed or not, Sheila made her way down the hill to the Guildhall and phoned her cousin Jennifer on the way. "Hi Jen, how you doing?" Jennifer, in her home at Bonds Hill on the waterside, was relieved to hear her cousin's voice. "Are you okay? Been worried about you. And the news said you were still in there with the gunman." "I'm fine, and it'd be okay, but I do need your help." "Okay, what?" "Remember a few weeks back you said your dad had given young Billy a toy you weren't happy with?" "I do." "Do you still have it?" "I do. I took it away from him, but I have it in the wardrobe." "Will you give it to me?" "Sheila, what are you playing at? What do you want it with it?" "Listen, Jen, didn't we always say we'd always stick together and work for peace?" "We did, sure, and we do." "Well, don't ask me any questions right now, please, but if you give me that toy, I'm going to use it to promote the peace in the city of Derry, and I'll get rid of it for you as well." "How?" "Oh, sorry, okay, no questions. I trust you, but just hope you're being careful." Sheila laughed. "That's funny coming from you, girl." They both giggled. "Will you meet me on your side of the Peace Bridge in 20 minutes and bring it with you?" "I will. Davy's here to mind Billy. Have we got time for a quick drink?" "Not tonight, Jen, but tomorrow we will celebrate to the full, I promise." Sheila was soon by the banks of the Foyle and walking down toward the Peace Bridge. The footbridge, enabling easy access back and forth over the River Foyle and serving as a symbol of the two communities reaching out together in tolerance and hope of a shared future. Sheila loved everything about the bridge, the archy style, the location, and the symbolism of it. She walked about halfway across and opened her handbag, looked this way and that and couldn't see anyone nearby, and then she lifted the gun and let it slip from her grasp over the side and waited for the splash. She guessed that out here, far from the bank on either side, it was very unlikely the gun would ever be found again. She put it in her hand in her bag to collect the bullets, but then she noticed a man of about 50 walking toward her. "Bad takeaway, was it, love?" "Something like that," but she knew he'd seen the bullets. She hesitated, and a gathering breeze lifted her hair and dropped it on her cheek again. "Listen, I'm doing this for the peace of the city. Please don't tell anyone." He nodded and said, "I'm interested in peace here, too, but not just here, peace everywhere." He watched as she let the handful of bullets go over the side into the dark waters with barely discernible splashes. He smiled and said, "Can I give you one of these to read?" She looked down at the tract he handed her. The word peace stood out as she looked at it. He continued, "It tells the way God will bring worldwide peace by means of his kingdom." He grinned. "He's going to destroy all the weapons." "Sounds good." She meant it. "Listen, you're not going to tell anyone, are you?" "No. You know, myself and my friends, we're neutral to all the carry-on here, and politics in general. And anyway, all I saw was a pretty young lady throw something over the side of the Peace Bridge that we're all better off without." Sheila laughed. "Have you got 2 more of those wee leaflets? I know a couple of gentlemen who could be doing with them." He handed her 2 more. "My name is Sheila," she said, "and I might be in the news tomorrow, but if it's going to be important that you don't tell anyone what you saw." "You have my word, my lady." He grinned again. "Thanks so much. I'd better go." "Well, please read that message now." "I promise I will." Sheila hurried now on over the bridge and was pleased to see her cousin on the other side waiting for her. They exchanged a few words after a hug. Jennifer passed her cousin a bag and Sheila put it in her bag. Thanks, Jen, I'll ring you tomorrow. As she walked back over the bridge, she realised how beautiful the lights of Derry looked reflecting on the water of the Foyle. She was glad that she felt so calm after the events of the day, and was thinking how much her parents were going to enjoy hearing of the role she played in this drama. Her dad had always said, "If you think you have something worth saying, pet, that will help a situation, then you say it." Well, she sure had today. Soon she was up the hill, and as she came into the Diamond, a young policewoman approached her. "I've been asked to check that you really want to go back in there, Sheila?" "Wouldn't miss it for the world." Her smile made the young policewoman very puzzled. Confidently, Sheila rode up the still-running escalators and entered the restaurant with a cheery greeting. The two men were helping themselves to even more coffee and more cake like two naughty schoolboys, and even looked guilty. "Where's mine?" she asked. Soon the three of them were sitting round the table. Sheila opened her handbag. First she explained that the gun was now at the bottom of the foil with its deadly little babies. Then she produced the toy. "That's a Luger pistol." Patrick knew his weapons. "Aye, a toy one. My uncle gave it to my cousin Jen for my nephew Billy. He made it himself as a boy, or he had it himself as a boy, but Jen thought it was far too realistic. She didn't want him to have it, and I persuaded her to give it to me tonight." The men nodded. "Is this going where I think it's going?" Patrick started to laugh. "As far as the people out there are concerned, this is the only gun that was ever in here." Sheila smiled. "So Wesley had a hoax bomb and a toy gun." "Wars used to sell these, so it's a toy, not an imitation firearm." "But people out there who were in here will know it's not the gun I had." Wesley voiced a concern. "Aye, but Pat knew this as soon as he saw it. Are you going to tell them the gun was switched, Pat?" The Republican threw his head back and laughed. "I've no intention of telling them anything they don't need to know. I owe you, Sheila, for one thing." Then he held his hand out to Wesley. "And Wesley, I understand. Really, I do. And I really am sorry. So I'm certainly not going to blow any whistle on you." Wesley looked down at the hand. Then he looked into the eyes, and he knew the apology was really meant. He took the hand. They shook hands awkwardly, but it was a start at least. "Thanks." Wesley meant it too. "Darn it," Sheila said. The two men looked alarmed. "I forgot to get the Guinness." They all laughed. Then she added, "But I did get you these." She handed them each a leaflet. "One of those Jehovah's Witness guys gave them to me. Actually, it looks like it is just right for us tonight." And I did meet him on the Peace Bridge. The two men took them and knew that a message of peace was just exactly what they needed right now. So, one more chapter to go. How do things turn out at the finish? What happened to Wesley, who went with murderous intentions and has now actually shaken hands with the man who shot his father? Well, the final episode reveals those things. Hope you're still listening to this story. I so much appreciate it when you let me share what I've read. And I guess it was nice that one of Jehovah's Witnesses got in on the story, hey? Love and peace to you, my friends. Kate and I are pleased to be in contact with all of you. And we'd like to just send you our love and to say bye for now. Bye bye.